Another day and another BTS. For this setup, we had to completely take apart the studio, and I'm going to show you guys why exactly. This is one of the first ones where the request was to have a sitting set, but we had to use the teleprompter. So we completely broke down our green screen set that usually belongs here and points to the green screen wall. And then we lowered it as much as possible so we can run a sitting set that looks directly to the stone. And we played with a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to show you what the current scene is, but I have these lights on just so I can actually explain what's going on. So we have this camera, the A7S III with an 85, and then this one with the 135 here. That's not being used back there, that's just a permanent setup. So we're only shooting 2 angles. Both of these run through a Ninja 5 because I want to be able to put the LUT on as I monitor. So both cameras are running on a Ninja 5. So my director's chair is here, and I have an A10 Mini hooked up with the 2 cameras that currently display to this monitor so I can see myself when I sit in the chair. This is basically wide shot and then the tight shot. And then our lighting situation didn't really change much, but we did go away with the lantern and we're using the light dome too, simply because I didn't want spill on the back wall. So we needed a little bit more directional stuff. We don't shoot that wall, so it doesn't matter if they spill on that wall, we just can't have spill on the back wall. So we have this 600X Pro with the light dome too, and I brought in my tubes because I have the grids for it, and that works well. So I have 2 PT2Cs with the 45 grid. This one is acting as basically a fill. This one is basically an edge light to give a little bit of separation on the shoulders. And then we have this spotlight that I know you guys can't see now because it's too bright, but it's doing a pattern on the wall. So when I turn the lights off, it will make sense. And then I have the short one, the PT1C. That's the hair light with the grid, doing a little bit of a warmer rim light. So I'm going to go and push record on both of these cameras so that I can show you what it looks like as a test run. I'm going to push record, both are recording, and then hopefully the autofocus will pick it up. I also have all the cards clean and ready. The time code is all running on all of them, and I'm recording on that one. I also brought my slate because this is going to be a non-linear course recording where we basically shoot all the sitting scenes first, and then we move over to a standing scene, and then we will go over to another set on this wall. So because it's non-linear, I need to be able to slate and know exactly which part of the video goes into which course. It just helps the editor. So I'm going to turn off the house lights, all of them. And now obviously this whole thing just changed. Look at the wall. This is what comes out of that spotlight in the back left that's creating this pattern. And teal is her color. So I actually brought my own personal kitchen chair that is the closest to we have, because the other option would be the director's chair, which is overused, and our orange chairs that we don't want to use. So I'm going to take a seat because this is currently set to my height. This is obviously what the talent can see. Teleprompter. This monitor is going to be flipped backwards. And in this situation, I have this light roughly arm's length. I can almost touch it, but not quite. And then these are probably about 5-6 feet away from me. No other lights in the scene except the one behind me. And so I'm going to lower this camera because it doesn't really add too much to the scene. And I'm going to look straight into my wide shot. My wide shot goes through a teleprompter, so I have to compensate between the 2 angles and actually take away a 1/3 of a stop light on this one. So this one is shooting at f2 at base ISO 640. This one shoots at f2.2 because the glass in the teleprompter is 70/30. So you lose about 1/3 of the light going through the teleprompter, which makes this lens or this camera angle brighter if you don't stop it down. And because we're at 135, stopping down to f2.2 is technically actually helpful because it's so shallow, the depth of field is so shallow that you could shoot at f4 and it would still be more blurred than the 85 at f2. It's just ridiculous how much compression is in this lens, and you can actually see that. Like I can see it if I look away. I know I'm not looking at the lenses, but I look away and I'm centered on the wide. It looks perfect. And my tight shot, I actually classified this set as almost like a Netflix true crime documentary scene where you see these dark sets that are kind of moody. We're not entirely sure if this is okay, but the talent hasn't really given us anything. So when she arrives, we'll ask her, do you want to go with this? Or do we need a little bit of a high key look so we actually brighten up the background and we're not doing as much separation? We want to see the bricks, no spill on the teal. We're not going to be able to use the spotlight because it just washes out. And we can then do a little bit less contrasty lighting. We tried to make it as even, but if you look at my face, there's definitely more shadows on this side because the big light source is coming this way, and then the fills are only filling, even though there are shadows, but there is still a fall off on my face. It's still pretty even. It is even enough where it's not a flat lighting like on a green screen, but it's not super, super contrasty where like one side of my face it just totally disappears in the dark. And then this light and the edge makes me stand out even though I'm still wearing black, which is like the hardest because of the background, but you can still kind of see my shoulders and stuff. Like that just creates that separation that gives me that kick. If I turn those off, this whole thing just totally disappears. I can actually pull out my phone and control these lights, and I'll show you exactly what would happen if I just turn off the two lights that are on my right. I can't control this one because that's a studio light, not mine, so it's not on my Sidus Link app. But if I turn off all the lights, so I just turned off, look at the contrast now. I turned off both the fill, the side, and my hair light. So if I turn everything back on, look at the difference. Like I look normal. And if we go one at a time, the hair light itself, even though it's hard to tell, it is on. So if you look at the 135, if I just tilt my head a little bit, you see how much difference does it make when I turn it on. It should be subtle, it should be totally obvious, but it should be enough where without it, my head kind of disappears, my hair disappears in the background. If I have it on, it's significantly different, and I have like a little edge and separated from the background. And so if I go back and turn on the PT2Cs, this would be without the fill, and this is without the rim light. And this is only the hair light. So if I turn off the hair light, totally dark. If I turn the hair light on, I am separated a little bit, and you can still see it a little bit on my shoulders. And then as I go and start doing the edge light, this is actually the fill. The fill light just, fills up my right side of the face. And then if I do the edge, what happens is I am just popping out of the screen a little bit more. And this is what we were going with. So I think we kind of nailed this. I have the audio set up, ready to go. We're shooting on the same exact thing as always, the Sennheiser MKE2s. Into a Tentacle Sync Track E. This is the best thing to do when I do time code, because while we're shooting as a DIT, I can verify after the shoot ended in this scene. So before we break this scene, I know that we're good. I don't want to be in that situation where I shoot something and then we do a bunch of setup changes, and then at the end of the day when we dump the cards, we realize that, oh shoot, something was wrong. Like we didn't notice something in the scene, the audio was wrong, her mic fell off or whatever, or it's crackling because the connector was not plugged in all the way. So there could be a lot of things that we just miss. But if you do it with this way, where you just do one scene, dump, DIT verifies, which basically is just importing it into Premiere, slapping on the LUT and watching it through, scrubbing it through, checking the audio, checking the angles, make sure the focus is right. And then you do the scene change and then you shoot again. And this actually gives the talent little breaks between the day, because if we have to shoot for 6 hours, we don't want to shoot for 6 hours straight. I would much prefer to do 2 hours and then 30-minute breaks, 2 hours, 30-minute breaks, 2 hour, 30-minute breaks, just to get that little bit of a flow and then give the talent a little bit of refreshing time, bathroom breaks and whatnot. And so this is my process. And I think it works very well because I don't want to overwhelm the talents. I don't want them to sit in front of these hot lights all day. Give them a little bit of space, have them, think about what's coming up next. And this way I actually have time to check the footage and confirm that, okay, we're good, we can move forward and we don't have to do any reshoots, because these people fly in here. So if we have to do a reshoot, it's going to be really freaking expensive to fly them in again, put them in a hotel, book a day. It's just, and it's on us. Like if that would be our fault if that happens, because we didn't actually verify all the stuff we shot before they left. So I like to do this continuously during the day as I go, because it makes sure that I'm not going to have a heart attack, after everybody left the office and I have to call them that we have to start hours early the next day because there's something wrong and we have to reshoot a scene that we have to rebuild first. So I'd much rather do it in sequence with verification, with confirmation, than just basically playing the lottery and hoping everything's fine. So I hope you guys like this setup. I'm gonna add in some of the finished products, and I'm gonna pick up this BTS after the scene change when we move over from this set to the set on my right, which is the stone that looks totally different, and we're going with a different look. She's gonna have a different wardrobe and all that. We actually ended up with running it high key, so we have some house lights on. Actually, we may have to turn more house lights on right there, but we'll check the sets when the talent gets here. But I was gonna discuss the slate a little bit. I'm not sure if this is how other people do it, but I always gift tip my slate because the dry erase marker just smudges too easily. So I just have my name on it, date, and then talent. And the way that she structured her script is she has modules. She has 11 modules, so I have tab flags that I can put on the slate as we shoot them, because we're not shooting it linear. So if we shoot, let's say, module 1, welcome, I just put 1 and welcome on it, slate it. And then we go to module 5, welcome, we slate it. And then as we go across, we should get all of them and all the inside modules based on her script. Not all of them have all of these, but let's say, everything from like 3 to 8 has a data. So we will show it, 3 module and data, and I'll just slate each one individually. So at the end, when we go through the script, the editor knows which one goes into which module and in what order. So we end up with full videos, because each of these are supposed to be on different scenes. So we'll shoot all homework on one scene like this, and then we're gonna shoot all story on another scene like that, and then we're gonna end up with the full course, which is supposed to be about 3 hours long. Can you start? Let's do a test reading as like you would run it on the script with Trey, and I want to listen to what you do.
Okay.
Action.
Hi, I'm Carole Mahoney, and I'm so thrilled that you're here with me, because together we're going to be the change makers who get by blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. This is the actual set that we finalized on, not the super dark Netflix true crime documentary style, even though it looked really cool. So we swapped the spotlight to white. That one has a little bit more output, so it's actually still visible, and we just went with the bright brick look. That's an actual real brick wall behind me. Adjusted some of these lights and increased just the general exposure in the room. There's a wardrobe change in between each one, so we're actually spending more time with wardrobe change than actual recording. All right, we're both rolling, and action.
Hi there, I'm Carole Mahoney, and I am so thrilled that you are here with me, because together we will be the change makers who put buyers first and not only blow past our quotas and make more money, sure. We all want that. But we are now the change in how sales and sellers are perceived.
We are ready for the second part of this shoot, where all we did is move the chair out, raised the hair light, raised the tripod, raised the camera here, and we're shooting standing up where she's standing in the box. And we're also matching her color. So I already did the dumping and I made the project. so I can look at what the look and what she was wearing was in module 1, where we're shooting the standing version of module 1. So we're matching this, and then we're shooting that.
A lot of sellers and business owners come to me for coaching because they want to increase their income. But when they decide not to work with me or ghost me, I often email them with the subject line, "Are you rich yet?"
This is the new expert voice setup, which we quickly put together. We've got the standard 3 cameras, which we are going to use exactly the same way for the podcast, but we're keeping some of these lights on. Easy lantern, no mics, but lavs, and blue hair lights. So we're shooting with company colors here. The blue hair lights, I know they're weird, but they match our branding, matches her book. The set looks good, lights are good. We just have to check to make sure these don't get into the shot because they were visible on the wide shot. But other than that, I got 2 85s and a 2470 in the center. And technically we all monitor them through the ATEM out here. Even though there are no LUTs, you can still kind of see what's going on in the room. This is day 3 of the shoot. We built a new set on this wall. It matches the one before, but not bricks, but stone. We've got teleprompter running here. We're not going to use this one, so I'm just going to turn this off. And then 2 cameras. This camera is the wide shot. No, actually, this is the tele shot. This camera is the wide shot. And then we have a flag here to block the light coming from this lantern, because we're lighting with the lantern to get a little bit of a general ambience everywhere. We're not shooting the bookcase, so shot ends here. But the lantern was hitting into the lens, and it was creating a little bit of a haze, kind of like what you see here on this right side when I'm close to the light. It has this kind of haziness going on. But that's because the light directly hits into the lens. If I block it, it looks so much better, right? So that's just this haze. So I had to flag this to block light directly getting into the barrels of the lenses for both. And it created a better contrast. So we have our talent spot T mark right there. And you can kind of see, I'm a little too tall for this, but if I take just a little bit of a crouching, then you see wide shot and tight shot. That's very like tight head cropped. So it should be like this, but you can still see the hair light on top of me. And we just have 1 tube to fill. Single light, I think it's at 25%. So we're not really pushing a lot of power. And the same cameras from yesterday with the 85 and the 135. No change on that. So at least we can keep the same look as we did yesterday. This is my very basic light meter that's technically used more for photos, but this one actually has video mode, the Sekonic 308XU. So I have it programmed to my shutter speed, which is 1/100. That's what we shoot everything here, and it says 640 ISO. So 640 ISO is base for S-Log. So when you do a light meter measurement, this is exactly where the talent is. It reads you that you should be shooting at f3.2. So if you want a 0 exposure, if you're at 3.2, then you nailed it. It's having a hard time focusing on this. But if you want to overexpose because you're shooting S-Log, let's say you want to shoot overexposed by 1 stop, then I'm going to go and just add 3 clicks to the shutter, because I want to do a compensation to, like, let's say +1 stop. So it's 3 clicks. So I should have my lens set to 2.2 to have a +1 exposure based on actual light meter. If you want to do 1.66 stops because you actually want to maximize all your shadow details, then you should click it 5 times and it's roughly f2. Now if you're on the border, then it may not even change. Like, look at this one. So 125 is also 3.2 and 100 is also 3.2. So you're somewhere in between the 1/3 stop in this situation, with how much light you have in the spot where my talent T mark is, and I just face it to exactly where the camera is. You push the button, it will read you. So it could be even at 3.6. It really is a fine line, because if I step one step closer and I make a read, then it's 4.5. So basically, just like one step forward in where the T mark is for the talent already is giving you roughly one full stop of light. So you have to be very precise on where you do your measurements, like holding it right at your face or where your talent face would be, and then pushing the button so you get roughly the same 3.2 measurement, which is what I'm going with. And we're overexposing, so I am actually shooting at 2.2.
If you are part of the 73% of other sales professionals who struggle with this common and most powerful sales mindset, the good news is it's also the easiest one to change. All you need to do to start is adopt better buying habits for yourself.
Thanks for sticking with me on this behind the scenes video. And before I end this video, I just have one question, and you guys can answer this in the comments. Do you guys think that this is too much to run as a solo with an assistant? Or like what would be, like how long would you schedule for a project like this? We did an 11 module video course. Each one had 5 individual sections inside, and each one had a costume change. I think we did 33 costume changes in this past 2 days. And we also shot a 2-person interview that's 30 minutes plus a podcast, all pretty much 2-3 cameras with time code, lighting, data management, double checking, DIT, backing it up. Let me know in the comments below.